murder. Yeah, yeah. Coming up next on Mental Health Matters with Marty, we're going to be discussing the serious issue when we're talking about suicide and Black men. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this. What's up, everybody? Yeah, it's me. It's your boy. It's Martina Sellers, your mental health hygienist, coming to you live and always in living color, all the way from Southern California. Y'all know what I say, where the sun is always shining. And listen, no hating on y'all on the East Coast, but it was a beautiful 65, 70 degrees today. This is how we do. We make it do what we do in Southern California. But we love y'all all the same. Definitely wishing you peace, love, and hair grease out there in the East Coast where it is frigid and cold. Listen, they told me it was in the teens in Cleveland today. Y'all, but we want you to know we are so glad you're here today. And we have a really, really great topic we're going to be talking about today that I'm excited about. But let me always remind you what this show is all about. The Mental Health Matters with Marty show is a psychoeducational show. It is intended to be a support. We are not a substitute for you seeing your therapist. We are definitely not a substitute for you seeing your psychiatrist or medical doctor. We want to be a part of your treatment plan to help you in your mental health and wellness. And that's what we're all about, creating safe spaces for you to say, I am not okay. So if you're experiencing any type of psychiatric or medical emergency, we want you to go to urgent care, dial 911, get the necessary help, but stay tuned because we got a show for you tonight. Now, how do you engage with us? I am so glad you asked that question. How do you engage? I've been announcing that we're going to be doing some exclusive to YouTube starting in March. But how do you engage with us? You have to go to Mental Health Matters with Marty Facebook page and Mental Health Marty on YouTube. If you're going to my personal page, I don't even think we're even streaming to my personal page any longer. But in order for us to see your comments, please, please, please check out the YouTube page because that's where we are seeing all the comments. Facebook and then becoming Meta and all these other things, they've changed the schematics on everything and the formulas. So in order to best see this and be able to participate, we want you to check us out on Mental Health Marty on the YouTube page with that as well. Now, how do I subscribe to that? I'm glad you asked. Daryl, kick the graphics with that. Go to our YouTube page and then type in Mental Health Marty, like and subscribe. You hear that bing that lets you know you've subscribed with us so that you get all of the notifications and everything that's going on. But I am so glad that you are here today. Listen, in our Speak Up session today, we're talking about in this series that we have been talking about in the 4-part of staying focused. We cannot ignore what has been going on in our culture, in African American culture, and the discussion that has been going on across the nation and on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Snapchat, all of that. Our heart goes out to Regina King. And so today we want to talk about speaking up against suicide and what that looks like, especially for Black men today. So let's go into our Speak Up section. Speak up. It's necessary that we speak up. You know, I always say speak up, speak out, and live. Speak up, because that's what it's about. Daryl, show us that picture that we have of Regina King and her son. My heart went out to her. Listen, I don't know her personally, but y'all, we saw her grow up on 227. So I feel like I know her. I feel like I know Kim Fields. I feel like I know all these people and these celebrities. But my heart goes out to her because I am a father of children. I have a 31-year-old daughter. I have a soon to be 24-year-old son. And do not judge me, a 6-year-old daughter. And I have also, as a therapist, lost an African-American man to suicide. And I know what that, I experienced it and know what it kind of feels like from a patient therapist client relationship. So I can't even imagine the pain that she is feeling, and not to mention Ian's father, as well as these parents are losing their son to suicide. And I wanted to have us have this discussion, and I'm so glad that we have an amazing licensed clinical social worker. Listen, y'all, I had to make sure I was on my A game for this brother and bringing him on, because he's just, listen, I'm trying to grow up and be like him. But anyway, let's talk about this in the Speak Up section of this. What are we talking about? We have some statistics that we want to share with you when it comes to suicide. And we got this from the Suicide Awareness and from NAMI and some other wonderful organizations, because we have to learn to talk about this and what does it look like in our community. So if we're looking at the suicide behavioral rate in America, suicide rate in 2019, 47,000 suicide deaths. This includes youth and adults. This includes men and women. This is across the nation as a whole. Now, if we're talking about suicide attempts, that is unheard of. There were over 1.25 or 1.379 reported suicide attempts in our nation in 2019. And this is pre-pandemic and pre-COVID. And then there were over 3.5 million suicide plans. Listen, we have, and then let's not even talk about almost 12 million people had contemplated suicide or had suicide ideations. And we have to talk about the seriousness of that. Daryl, our next slide. In that. Now, if we're talking about men and the means, firearms are the number one means of suicide in America. Firearms, and then we're looking at suffocations, poisonings, and some of these other falling, cutting, piercing, some other things. And one of the things that's definitely underreported that I think we have to start looking at more closely is drug and alcohol related deaths that we write off as overdose and on these other things, driving accidents and so forth. Our next slide there, please. And if we're looking at by age and rate, we see that there is an alarming number of those in the 15 to 24 category. Again, firearms is amongst the number one cause of that when we're looking at means of suicide in this nation. Next slide, please. Now let's look at some of the racial and ethnic disparities, is particularly within our Black communities. Look at this. Look at this scale in that, we used to have this misnomer that suicide just didn't happen in our communities. Well, we know that that's not the truth. And look at the decline that's happening from 2018, 2019, and I believe in some of the statistics talk about in 2020, but it is on the rise Although it might be declining as a whole, it is on the rise among African American people, amongst our cultures. That means we need to be talking more about it. Next slide, please. When we're looking at this suicide rate by population and age, again, we're seeing that in the overall statistics of that. Look at those comparisons when we're looking at African Americans and the overall U.S. population. Look how too close the categories are from. Can you believe it? 5 to 14, 15 to 24, 25 to 34. Then we start to see a little bit of those greater, the statistics getting greater differences when we're looking at 35 to 44 and on up to age 85. Wow. We got some work to do in our community, y'all, especially when we're talking about that youth, young adult, and teenage years. We got to have these conversations with them. Next slide, Daryl. When we're looking at, again, look at the disproportionate among men and with our African American men compared to that of women, and then as a whole in the nation. Amazing. I'm actually speechless when we're talking about looking at some of these statistics and the death rates among us as a people. Next slide, please. Now let's look at past year suicidal thoughts. This is the ideation and those type of things. And suicide ideation among we as African Americans is definitely, look at that small margin when we're talking about ideation. And I'm going to say, I always say too many of us secretly suffer in the shadow of shame. We don't have to continue to suffer like this. Let's have the conversations. Just because you may have thought about it does not mean you're going to go through with it. But we got to have the healthy conversation. Say, bro, what's wrong? Let's talk. Talk to me. You're not alone. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help. I know it might look rough right now, but let's look at some of the other options we might have. Next slide, Daryl, please. And if we're looking at the behaviors of high school youth in the Black America population, look at those alarming statistics among our people. We got to talk. This lets me know we got to have and we have to have more conversations on the high school. Parents, listen, I need everyone to like, share, get some people in on this conversation today because we can no longer not have this conversation. Look at the startling small difference of that with our young people. And look, and I have to take into account, we got so many microaggressions. This again is pre-pandemic when we saw George Floyd and so many others by police brutality and so many other things that's going on. Y'all, we have to have these conversations. So in our next segment in Speak Out, I'm so glad to have this amazing brother. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a dynamic therapist. He's an author. He's a speaker, entrepreneur. Listen, I need the brother to write me out a check for about 10G so I can come on and be like him. But I'm so glad to have none other than licensed clinical social worker, the myth, the legend, the man, Paul Beshea Williams. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, my brother? How are you feeling?
Man, I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm well. Thanks for the introduction, man. You got me over here blushing like a little kid.
Man, I appreciate you. Listen, you're a hardworking man, and listen, all the things you're doing, you are blowing up. I love what you and your wife are doing. I have my couples. I'm like, listen, y'all need to go follow this couple right here, and whatever they say, do it. So I need some of my clients to send y'all a love offering for following y'all and doing your work.
I appreciate that. We appreciate the love, man. We're just trying to heal the people.
Listen, that's all we can do. Listen, for those who don't know you, share with us who you are, what you do, and all the good stuff that you do, man.
Sure. So I am Paul Beshea Williams. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a psychotherapist in the DMV area. So I'm in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. I own and operate Heart to Mind Counseling. It's a group practice, and just so blessed to be able to serve African Americans in the county near me for free.
Wow.
We're working on that. I'm also an author of Dear Future Wife, A Man's Guide and a Woman's Reference to Healthy Relationships. And this is a book for men to really understand themselves in relationships, understand themselves just in general, how we
Yeah.
show up. There's so many different
Yes.
things out there for women. This is for men. So I speak all over. I do corporate speaking. I do agency speaking. Of course, I love being a therapist and working with couples.
Yeah.
But I'm a father, like you said. I'm a brother. I'm a son. I'm a black man. I'm a
Yes.
husband. So yes, I'm
Yes.
all those things.
Yes. Yes. See, I got my book, bro. I got my book.
I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
we got to show love out there, man. I've been recommending this to some of my brothers out there when I'm doing some therapy with them. I say, listen, you're not ready for your future wife. Listen, I got a book for you. You got to go get it, and hopefully, yes. See, we doing our work for you. Yes. So please go.
Thank
Where
you.
can they
Thank
get
you.
this book at, my brother? Where can they find it at?
They can find it on Amazon, of course. You want to look for the
Mm-hmm.
second edition, or you can go to my website, BesheaWilliams.com, and click on Shop by Shay, and you'll find my book, and I can sign it. If that's if you want it signed, I can send it out to you.
Well, we always want to get it signed, and then you get more of the money when we go through you
Right.
as opposed to
Right.
Amazon. So yes, we
Exactly.
get it, we get it, we
Exactly.
get it. Man,
Exactly.
listen again, doing amazing work, and I appreciate you. I've watched your journey, and even this getting married, and you got married in a pandemic. No, wait a minute, you
Yes.
met your wife in the pandemic. You got married in the pandemic. And y'all just
Yes.
listen. I've been living vicariously through y'all. I be like, I'm going to India. I'm going to Bora Bora, Paris. Y'all just living your best life. I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you.
Yeah. Thank you.
What
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
what was that journey like for you, and what prompted you? And I'm going to go to this, and then I want to jump into the Regina King situation. What prompted
Okay.
you to even write this book, and where did the birth of this really come from?
So the birth actually came from a failed relationship. It came from a
Mm,
place where I no longer wanted to allow myself to experience love. So I just wrote about it.
right.
I wrote about the
Okay.
things that I needed. I wrote to my wounds, and it
Mm-hmm.
started as a journal.
Mm-hmm.
And once I did a journal, I turned it into a blog, and then it turned to a book. So it was birthed
Mm-hmm.
from pain, but it was the way that I
Mm-hmm.
processed my pain in front of other people.
Wow. Wow. And, having a failed marriage myself, and it took me probably about a good 3 years just to kind of heal from all of that, from not
Mhm.
feeling like a failure. And then when you have
Mhm.
children involved in that, feeling like, okay, not feeling like I had to overcompensate, or that I was a
Right.
deadbeat dad, all those negative thoughts that go through our minds with that.
Right.
How was that processing that really, and being vulnerable to process it publicly, to share it from a blog to a book to now speaking about it, and that type of thing? What was that process like for you to be that vulnerable with other black
Yeah.
men?
So right. So the beginning, it was my personal journey. I didn't share it with anyone. And then
Okay.
someone else saw it and said, this would help other people. And so what I
Mm-hmm.
did was, as my therapist, so I see a therapist now, he calls me
Mm-hmm.
the king of reframe. So what I would do, I was write my original experience, and then I would read it, and then I would take my personality, my experience out of it, and
Right.
use it as a teaching tool. So I can somehow separate from the experience and use it as a teaching tool.
Mm.
And but the trick of that was, and the bad part about it was, when I was going through this journey and writing this book, I
Right.
disconnected my experiences. And so
Okay.
when people were saying, "Oh my gosh, that healed me," I was like, "Okay, good. I don't want to be a part
Oh,
of that because that's going to
right, right,
re-trigger
right.
me."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
get this work, and I'm gonna sit back and I hope you heal. But I
Yeah.
still got work to do in private. So even when I
Yes.
released the book, I didn't, after I did the final edit and sent it into the publisher, I
Right.
didn't read the book. I had people talking about it. I
Wow.
remember it because I connected
Right,
to the
right,
experiences, but I
right,
didn't want to relive that. And I was sitting in
right.
and when I released it, I wasn't in a relationship. So you talking about having having the idea of failure. So here I am writing Dear
Yes,
Future Wife. Here I am a
yes,
therapist that saved
yes,
couples and did all of that,
yes,
and I don't have a relationship.
yeah,
I don't have a
yes.
successful relationship. So the disconnect was, okay, do as I say, not as I
But
do.
not as I do. Yeah, yeah. Man, I
Right.
get
And
it.
so
I
I had
get
to
it.
come back and do my own work. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're anything like me, I'm in sessions, and some of my clients, some of my black male clients, I'm like, dog, let me tell you something. I'm preaching to the choir right now. So I
Mhm.
know you paying me, but next week I need you to ask me, did I do what I told you to do? And we're gonna hold each other
Right,
accountable because
right, right.
it is
Because
being vulnerable.
yeah,
Go
it is
ahead.
about relationship. It's about relationship because
Yes,
vulnerability is
yes,
freedom. I keep saying that. So if
yes.
I'm
Ooh,
holding all
that's
these
good.
things, and we'll get into that when we go into it later, but if I'm
Yeah,
holding all these things into myself, then
yeah.
I don't have access to healing. My wound
Mm.
is just re-injuring itself.
Hmm.
It's just re-injuring itself. So vulnerability allows me to see it, allows
That's
other people to
good.
see it. I guess accountability. And then I
Yeah.
said, okay, I need to hold myself accountable to the words that I put out, to the behaviors that I say I'm
Yes.
going to do.
Ooh, that's good. And that's hard,
Yeah.
holding yourself
Yeah.
accountable with that. And then even, can we just say, learning how to forgive yourself in the
Yes.
process that. And I always say it
Yes.
this way: forgiveness is the gift of goodbye. the,
Mm.
the gift of goodbye. Goodbye to that
Yeah.
relationship. Goodbye to those
Yeah.
old negative thoughts. Goodbye to that
Yeah.
person that you just don't even want to even.
Hmm.
Goodbye. So I'm giving
Hmm.
you this wonderful gift. Goodbye, and
Right.
working from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's a process in itself. When did you know for you that you were right? Because you get this ready and at least ready to start pursuing another relationship, or that you're like, I'm healthy enough to, even though I'm not 100%, maybe not 100% whole, but I'm at least at healthy enough to recognize when I'm triggered and admit it to my partner, my future wife, or whomever, that this is a trigger for me and I'm still working through it, but I'm still healthy enough for this relationship.
I think the biggest thing for me is understanding when I would felt like I was confident enough to walk away from something that didn't serve me.
Okay.
Because
Okay. That's
previously I
good.
would stay in a relationship because you
Mm-hmm.
got that social worker brain, you got that fixer brain, you can
Mm-hmm.
fix everything. When I got to the
Right.
point where I said, I can have boundaries and enough is enough, I'm walking away. That's when I knew I
Wow.
was ready to have a real relationship because I was ready
Right.
to say no to somebody at hello. I was ready to say no to
Yes.
somebody, even though
Oh,
we
that's
got
good.
connected and it might be going well, but something else
Yes.
says, no, this is not sustainable. I was okay
Yes.
with saying, I don't have to fix this. This is
Yes.
not my responsibility. I know
Mm-hmm.
I can't handle this type of thing going forward. So I need to step away and being confident
Mm.
in that exit.
That's good, because I think that's where a lot of us not confident enough to say, or that this is not healthy, or too many. Both of us are crossing boundaries that we should not cross, without
Hmm.
then being, like you said, re-triggered and feeling like a failure all over again. And
Hmm.
and just saying, you know what, you're not a failure. You're actually putting boundaries on this to protect yourself, so we don't repeat the same negative path that we've been in the past, that we have always done.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so important to do that. It's so important to do that. That it was, you talk about vulnerability, that's a part of vulnerability too, because vulnerability allowed
Mm.
me to understand that I can't fix this and it's okay. I'm
Yes.
not a failure. I'm not a failure,
That's
and
good.
my title, my relationship status doesn't define my identity or who I am or my value.
Mm-hmm. That's
And once I
good.
understood that, I was good.
Yeah. That's real good. That's real. Now you got a bonus daughter in with your
Yes.
new. Yes, yes. How for those of us, because blended families can be complicated
Hmm.
in so many ways, and it definitely seems like you guys have an amazing relationship. And what advice do you offer to those of us who might be in relationships and we're going to get bonus children as a result of
Hmm.
that?
Well, the biggest thing is don't try to force it. Don't try to come in there and establish yourself as dad or as mom or
Mm.
whatever position you're
Mm-hmm.
doing it. Learn them, allow them to have a voice as well. Ask them,
Mm-hmm.
how do you want me to show up? Like, what do you need from me? And you guys have real serious conversations. And you also trust your partner. You trust your
Mm-hmm.
partner
That's
to
good.
ask, well, how do you need me to show up? How can we show up? I also don't want to be devalued. I want to have a place,
Right.
but I understand
Right.
I'm not trying to
Right.
replace who's no
Right.
longer there.
Right. I love that. I love that. Okay, now you and Tyra just have the most amazing. How did you know that she was the one? Because you know what? Can I be honest? The one that cracked me up when she said that she wore all the ugly stuff until y'all got married, and then after you got married, she then said she could burn all the ugly nightgowns and all that other stuff because she's like, you listen, that episode that you guys had, I fell out laughing. Because I love it because you guys had wonderful, amazing boundaries. You're like, listen, I'm about to put a ring on this because this sleeping apart, you going home at night, whatever, is driving me crazy. But when did it click? Like, she the one. This is my future wife. I don't have to say dear future wife, but I can say hello, sweetheart, hello, Mrs.
Right. It was a couple of different things. There's so many different things. We talk about alignment. So many things happen in alignment, from a childhood friend living across the street that I haven't seen in over 20 years. But I think that one of the things that kind of made me, I always talk about Popeyes, right? I always talk about how I love Popeyes. I eat Popeyes. And the news a couple years ago, the new sandwich came out, the chicken sandwich came out.
Right.
And I was on this strict diet. I was working out. I was getting ready for this photo shoot. And she was still my brand manager at this time.
Right.
And I was like, yo, I just went and just had a bite of the chicken sandwich. And she just got quiet. And I felt like I disappointed my mother or father. I was just like, and I was just like, okay, all right. That was the first one.
Okay.
Another time was when she was still my brand manager. She wanted me to read the 4 agreements, and I'm not an avid reader. I'm a writer.
That's a good book, though.
It is. It really is.
It's a good book.
It is. It is. But I'm
impeccable with your word.
And so, but the one thing that she said, she was like, don't take things personal. And immediately, again, to the inner parts of me, I was just like, how can I not take things personal when I'm connected to somebody? I love somebody. You mean I can't take what they say personal if they try to hurt me? So it was that thing, and I was just kind of like not trying to read it. So what she did was she read each chapter, recorded it, and sent it to me. One, like each week, she says, I know you're busy. I know you have these long rides to your office, speaking events, or whatever that is. So just play it in her voice. And of course, her voice changed a little bit. She put the little, just like, hey, chapter 1, They put a little sauce on it.
She's ready to put a Jedi mind trick on you. I love it. That's amazing.
But I think the biggest thing was it was really after that that I was just like, and actually a friend pointed it out. I really paid attention to how she shows up in my life. Effortlessly. No manipulation, just doing it because she wants me to be better. She's doing it because this is her heart, this is her thoughts, and this is how she operates. And that's what stood out. That's what stood out.
I love it because in you said a man's guide and a woman's reference to healthy relationships. And what I thought, what you definitely is describing in that, you are experiencing a healthy relationship and what that looks like, because too often I think we've all been in some very negative and bad relationships. And so we stop looking for healthy and we start anticipating unhealthy, and then how we're going to manage and deal with that and adjust our coping skills by not having any boundaries. That's why those boundaries are so important. And then accept unhealthy as healthy and continue to limp along.
Right. That is so good. That is so good. And even in addition to that, it's like when we set those, when we accept the unhealthy, right? We just tell ourselves it's not as bad as the last relationship.
Yes.
Or at least they don't do what the last person did. And so now I'm getting something that I wanted that the person in the last relationship didn't do, but I'm ignoring all these other things because I'm satisfied with that one thing I missed in the last relationship.
Yes. That's so powerful. That's so powerful. Well, I'm gonna continue to live vicariously through y'all till something happens out here in SoCal and everything. But a brother just been busy working,
I got you.
Listen,
I got you.
As a father, Man, I remember a little over a week ago, maybe, just scrolling through, and I saw that about Regina King, and
Yeah.
my heart dropped as if I knew her. As if, I felt like, because we've seen her on so many, Regina King been working hard, but I think the father in me, the parent in me, just hurt, and just tears came to my eyes when I thought about my own children. How did that move you when you definitely heard the news about Regina King, her son, and then the conversations that were going online?
So for me, I allowed it to come in my space for a short while because I try to
Okay.
keep a little bit of well, a lot of boundaries on stuff that's happening in social media because I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to get wrapped up into it, right? And
Right,
then
right,
I'm dealing with this in my practice. I'm dealing with this in society. I'm speaking. I'm doing all
right,
these different things, and I
right.
saw it, and I was just like, oh, my heart aches for her. And then I saw another black man
Yep.
gone,
Mm-hmm.
and I started to think what led him, what was going on. But
Right.
that's a rabbit hole. That's a rabbit
Yes.
hole for me and
Yes.
for a lot of us. And so
Yes.
I just allow myself to be in that moment, but I didn't try to keep up with everybody else's posts and stuff like that.
Right, right, right.
I immediately started to make sure you guys are checking in with yourself, make sure
That's
you're
it.
checking in with your family, making sure you're present with all the people around you that you
Yes.
can, not being responsible for them, but making
Mm-hmm.
sure you're checking in with people
That's right.
um,
That's right.
because it's so important to do that.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. My mind went to, that's another black man. And what power do I have in my position as a therapist to help change the dialogue some kind of in my circle of influence, that,
Hmm.
and I keep hearing this, and I don't know if it's something that maybe I haven't been paying attention, where I'm hearing black men now saying, we just need a safe space. I don't know if you're
Hmm.
hearing that a lot, but I'm definitely hearing that a lot more, maybe in this past year, than I have in 10 years. So having this need for a safe space, a need to just vent, a need to get things off their chest, a need to, I don't know, but just a need to find some sort of camaraderie to let them know it's okay. One, that we're not okay, and two, I got some other brothers I can lean on during this time. And
Yeah,
I don't know how we create that.
yeah, it's so prevalent now, and I love it. I love the fact that it is happening.
Right,
I think we're
right,
seeing it more because of the spaces that we're in, but I'm
right,
also getting an influx of black men, and I'm not talking about black men who are 20 years old, 30 years old. I'm
right.
talking about 50, 60, 70,
Yes,
saying, you know what?
yes,
I've been in this cycle. I've been in this thing that
yes,
I've been doing. I no longer want to be
yes,
here. I need to
yes,
do something. I don't know what I'm
yes.
doing here, but I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
committed. And they want the safe space because we're having a
Yes.
conversation with our homeboys and it doesn't. They're just like, suck it up. Our homeboys will
Yeah.
tell, oh, you'll be
Yes.
all right. Oh, that's how
Mm-hmm.
it's supposed to be a man and all
Mm-hmm.
those different things.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a safe space. That's reaffirming that you can't show up for yourself. That's reaffirming that
Exactly.
whatever you're feeling is not valid.
Yeah. I totally agree. I'm with you too, because I've had this influx, and then some of them are influx that's actually been even professional men, police
Yes.
officers. I have some Disney execs and some of these other things of major corporate companies that's just saying, I can't deal with the microcosms and the subtle racism and all of this that's happening, or I'm tired of being the only black man in this corporate
Hmm.
boardroom, and
Hmm.
having to put on the mask, and I'm just angry, and processing that, and I'm so grateful that we're finally having these conversations. But what do you suggest to the men who might be listening, the men who are listening, or even to the women who have men who are like that? Because there are certain signs that we as men kind of show. I know for me, I'll get real quiet, and I have to always,
Hmm.
talk to myself. I watch my son, and when I'm like, dude, listen, I'll just sit in this room. What do you want? I'm sitting in your room because I am. Why is everyone going to call me when they know I got a show? Because I know your patterns, and you're coming home. You're I'm trying to get the Negro out my house, but I guess I'm grateful that he wants to still stay here. But like, when are you leaving? But I do know his patterns
Yeah.
in those regards as well. How do we maybe we go here? How do we identify maybe when Black men, I'll say it this way, might be going through something? What do you normally notice in your practice, and how do you talk to those men and women who want to help those men?
Well, just like you said, the isolation is very prevalent when a man is really going through something because
Mm-hmm.
being vulnerable or showing any type of weakness um,
Yes.
is frowned upon. So if I
Yes.
can't show you that, I must keep it to myself. So I
Mm-hmm.
isolate myself and then I sit
Right.
with it by myself until I figure out to
Right.
come out of it, or until I
Yeah.
put up a big enough mask to come up and show my face again. And so
Yes.
when you're watching how your partner, how your boy is just not doing the things that he used to do, not joking the
Mm-hmm.
way he used to joke, not
Right.
as involved the way he used to do, ask him what's going on. Do you need something?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, let's just go have a one-on-one outside of the
Yeah.
rest of the friends. Let's just
Right.
me and you.
That's good. That's
Accountability is
good.
important too. Accountability,
Mm-hmm.
like we're afraid of it, but accountability is just like, I see you getting down. Nah, bro, we need to get up out of the house. We need to go do this.
Yes.
We're gonna go exercise. We're
Yes.
gonna go get something to eat. Let me
Yeah.
pull you from the environment that you feel that you're struggling in.
Yeah, that change of environment is so important. Changing wherever we can change, so we can change. I always say it like this: change the beat, change the song, change our
Mhm.
dance, change the rhythm. Whether you're on the court or
Yeah.
something, and it's not change whatever that rhythm is, so that you can get back in control over it. Slow the beat down somehow. But you're absolutely right about just grabbing, because I don't know if you're like me. After you get through that first or second session, and that man, they're like, "Bro, I feel so much better," or I feel like not that a
Yeah.
problem has been solved, but at least I've had a safe space to release it. No judgment. I'm not pointing a finger, because we have the tendency, you know how we do in our community. What's wrong with you, dog? You know, you got a
Mhm.
chip on your toe. How we start to attack, but we got to learn how
Mhm.
to if we're playing and we notice that the response is different, to quickly back off and be like, "Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Talk to me. How you feeling? What's going on?"
Yeah.
And I think it's navigating through those systems as well
Yeah, and
as we're
I think
doing.
a lot of us too in the community, as like a homeboy, if I didn't have this
Hmm.
training, I don't know if I would have the words to check in with someone. So
Okay,
when you talk about
that's
looking for
good.
a safe space, maybe there needs to be some more conversations. I mean, we're having them, right? We're giving
Yes,
access to these conversations. We're showing people how to
yes.
communicate. We're showing people how to show up for each other. They need to have more access. I go into some different speaking places, like you said, corporations and everything. It's like, what?
Hmm.
Black male therapists are real? I didn't even think they
Right.
were real. I mean, that still exists. I mean, we're
Yes.
having these conversations. We have all these followers. We have all this going on, but not a lot
Yes.
of people are seeing us. Not a lot of people are hearing us.
Yes.
Not a lot of people have access to us, or not even just us, the conversations that we're having.
Exactly. Because I'm sure you get the same thing what I get. Like, dog, I've been looking for a black male therapist for a year, 2 years, 3 years. You're like, I've been right here all this time. And I think
Yeah,
it's navigating through the access. Or I get the opposite. I should have, but I was too embarrassed. Or I didn't
yeah.
know how. We need to normalize being compassionate. Ladon, my brother, hope you're doing all right there in Detroit. You're right. We do need to normalize being compassionate, and even having these conversations, because I think a lot of us turn that into maybe weakness, or
Right.
because think about what we're told: suck it up, man up, all those things, and the negative narrative that we're creating. But you have a son. How do you and your relationship with your son? I love the matching J's that you guys have and all that. See, bro, I told you I'd be following y'all. I know what you. I feel like I'm an honorary Williams. But
Well,
talk
welcome,
to about.
welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Your relationship with your son, and what do you strive maybe to do differently with your son, maybe than that was done differently, maybe with your parenting, or your parents, or that you see with some other family members. What do you purposeful and focus in on your son about maybe communication and the relationship that you have with him?
The biggest thing for me, it was to be available for him,
That's
and be
it. Yeah.
accessible to him. like we can have conversations. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting in this room. I'm sacrificing the things that I may want to do because I want him to
Right.
be comfortable to do the things that he wants to do around. I'm joining in as a young
Right.
boy. I've always been just as interested in the things that he was interested in
Okay.
because I
Okay.
wanted him to see us in tandem doing things that he likes. And
Yes.
then he's also
Yes.
doing the things that I like. And so now we're
Yes.
having conversation, and I didn't force him to like certain things. I didn't force him to
Right.
do certain things that I thought that he was supposed to do. I didn't
Right.
really have a verbal relationship with my dad. We didn't
Okay.
have many conversations.
Right.
And so
Right.
I wanted to have conversations with my son to talk about school, to talk about
Yes.
girls, to talk
Girl. Yeah.
about
Yeah.
clothes, all those different things,
Yes.
emotions. Like, what are you
Yes.
feeling? Like, if you're crying,
Yes.
it's okay to cry, but let's understand where the tears come from.
Why? Yes. Yes. No,
Let's
I hear you.
understand, is that really worth a tear? Right? I'm not saying you can't, but is that really worth a
Exactly.
tear? Because what is the value of the pain or the emotion that you're feeling, or just a disappointment? Are you just crying
Mm-hmm.
because you didn't get something your way? Well, let's talk about that. So I was always having those conversations,
That's
and we
good.
still have the conversation, but I let him have a voice. That's important because a lot
Yes.
of times our voices are taken from us, and we just, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, suck it up. You better not
Yeah.
talk back.
Yeah.
I
Right.
said it,
Right.
and that's it. That's not the
Yes.
way that I communicate with my son.
Yeah. I love it. I don't know. I remember one time I had come down hard on myself. He was probably middle school, does something, and so afterwards, I gave him this punishment. I snatched up his PlayStation and threw everything in my car and locked it up in the trunk and everything. So I went there and said, do you understand why I did this? And da da da. He goes, Can I be honest? I'm like, of course, I want you to be honest. Doesn't mean I'm going to change. But be honest. He said, well, I did what I saw you do.
Mm,
Talking about.
mm,
And
yeah.
then he walked through every step that what I did. And so
Mm,
with it, I had to apologize to my son and said, you know
mhm.
what? You're right. So I'm not changing the punishment. What I'm going to do,
Right.
we both are going to be on punishment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here's what I'm
Yeah.
going to do to show you that I'm making the effort to make that change as well, because I can't hold you to a accountability that I'm not holding myself, because what I'm modeling for you is bad behavior. So in
Right.
that, he doesn't let me forget that even right now. But but
Of course not.
but now the funniest story was this, man. By the time he was a senior in high school, we were wearing the same size, and so my boy he's
Mm,
playing basketball, and I purposely moved across the street from the high school after his mother and I
mm,
got divorced and everything. And I'm like, I need to be close. I need to be doing this, and this, because I need to make sure he can walk right here. I need to know all the basketball players and all that. But them jokers ate me out of house and home. I was going through the gym talking about, dog, you owe me $30 because your kid eat way too much. And so I showed up to the game in his sweatsuit, his shoes, and everything. He like, what you doing? I'm like, I wear it better than you, don't I? He doesn't even let me forget that to this day. All his boys be like, man,
Yeah.
I remember when you came to the game in the Christian's gear and everything. I said, yeah, I look good in it, didn't I? Didn't I? But it's those type of things showing up,
Mhm.
and really helping especially our sons.
Yeah.
Have these
Yeah.
conversations, be comfortable, so that they know that dads and dads are so important, because I think that we've set a bad tone in our community. We have to help change and shift that narrative, especially when and I'm not bashing on Black women and single moms or anything like that, because I love Black women and the role that sometimes they were forced to play. But we cannot
Mhm.
say, I don't need a man.
Right.
You don't need your father. I'm your mother and your father. Wrong message. Wrong
Yeah.
message.
Yeah.
And we have to do better with creating those messages that build. I don't have to like you, but I'm not going to talk bad down to you. And I think that can lend to a lot of the negative cycles and the negative thought patterns that our Black
Mhm.
young men have, and then pushes them to those thoughts of suicide and suicide ideation in those
Yeah.
regards. Talk to me. Are you surprised or alarmed by the number of the increase, I should say it that way, especially among our adolescents and young adults who are contemplating, and maybe we're just, I don't know what the answer is. Are we just now finally turning the light on our community about it? What's your theory on that, and why the increase these days?
Yeah, I am alarmed and concerned about the increase. I think it's all of those things. The light is on it.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a tremendous increase. A lot of it comes back to um, being able to connect to the emotions, allow those emotions to be free, and allow those emotions to be
That's good.
accessible, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so for me and my son, he's seen me in different emotional states. He's seen
Right,
me
right.
upset. He's seen me
Yes.
sad. He's seen me
Mm-hmm.
angry. He's seen me
Mm-hmm.
happy. He's
Mm-hmm.
seen me, get ready to cry, and he's seen me
Mm-hmm.
get ready to buck up on somebody.
Right, right.
And we have conversations about all those all those feelings, right? Nothing gets hidden because you need to
Right.
understand that you have access to all those things. And so even
Yes.
when I talk to when I used to work at a juvenile alternative school, I used to work
Mm-hmm.
there and I used to go in there every day as a therapist and volunteer and
Mm-hmm.
all that. And I just to see their experiences. They didn't have access to anybody that can talk to them. They didn't have access to
Right.
anybody that looks like them. Everybody in
Right.
the community was telling them to be tougher
Yes.
than your
Yeah.
emotions, be tougher. Like they're facing gun violence. They're facing
Right.
their dads are incarcerated, moms are
Right.
incarcerated. They saw their brothers get killed.
Yes.
They're thinking the only way out is death.
Yes. Yes. You're absolutely
And so they
right.
struggle to find what alternative do I have?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm supposed to always hide my feelings. I'm always supposed to look for
Mm-hmm.
a way out. And this is
Mm-hmm.
a moment where I have the power to get out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so there's so many different layers that are going with that. And we need to be more available, more present in our
Exactly.
community and
Exactly.
say, what do you need, young man?
That's right.
And sometimes
That's right.
they're going to buck back. They're going to buck back.
Yeah.
There's going to be challenges, but we need to find a way to get them what they need. We need to ask them what they need,
That's good.
as opposed to
You know,
coming in with a pre-plan and trying to
exactly.
control them and tell them you need to be all right. Just do this and you'll be all right.
Yep. I love what you said is that they're going to book. And I worked, I actually used to, was executive director of a charter school and had all these young boys. And I was doing from 16 to 24, getting their high school
Mhm.
diploma and a job certification. And one time I thought that was real profound. One of the young men says, I'm supposed to buck. He says, I actually
Mhm.
buck to see if you're going to buck back, because if you buck back, I know you care about me.
Mm. Mm.
I never lost that. He goes, because he was angry at his parents. We were because so well, why? He goes, they don't love me. I'm like, yes. He says, no, because I purposely do these things. I want my dad to say no and put me on punishment, because then I know he loves me. But because he
Mhm.
hasn't done these things, they don't love me.
Yeah.
He says, you love me more than they do, because you won't let me get away with stuff.
Hmm. Hmm. Kids love, people don't really understand how much kids love structure, even when they don't agree
Yes.
with it. They
Yes.
love routine, structure.
Yes.
Um, they just love, and so they love attention, regardless of how they
Hmm.
get it, and they're going to
Right.
figure out
Positive
how to
or
get it the
negative.
most. Right.
Hmm.
Whatever gives it the most, that's what they're going to
Yes.
do. So,
Yes.
how can you connect with them on the ways that you need to, in the way that they can be a better person? But you're so on point. They're saying that I'm bucking because that's what gets me the attention.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. And
Yeah.
oftentimes they're seeing their lives. I love what you said earlier. You know, they're seeing their lives through this lens of pain. And I
Yeah.
share with people a lot of times when they're having suicide ideations and all. I know I've had some pain in my life. Listen, you a baller. I'm not. The ball gene skipped me. I'm an embarrassment. I am that black man who cannot play ball. It's an embarrassment. My father played. My brother got a scholarship to play. He played at Colorado and Fort Collins. My son played. My daughter played at Tuskegee. They told me only thing that we want you to do is pass us the ball. I'm like, shut up. Uh, so here I am at this youth camp playing basketball. can't play now. And I ruptured my Achilles.
Wow.
So you know how painful that is.
Yeah.
And the only thing by the time I got, because I said, I just pulled a hamstring, not a hamstring, pulled something, and I'll be all right. By the time I got to the doctors, I had taken 10 Tylenol. And they said, are you trying to kill yourself? I said, no, I just want this pain to end.
Yeah.
I
That's
said,
huge.
at the
That's
time, I could not think about, okay, the ratio. If I take this many, I have a probability of my heart stopping. But my thought was, I'm in pain. Give me 2 more. I'm in pain. Give me 2 more. I just need this pain to stop. And so they were watching me talking about, we got to monitor you because if your heart slowed down too, we're going to have to pump your stomach. Thank God they didn't have to do all that. But when I look at suicide ideation, suicide attempts, and actually completed suicides, LaDon, thank you, bro. I'm so glad. And you got sons too. Thank you. Thank you for being in my corner. I thought all y'all Detroit folk knew how to play some ball. But when you're in that spot, you just want the pain to end. And I know I've been in some situations after the divorce. I was severely depressed for some months. And I didn't know how to make that pain end. Now I was angry at her. And then, man, now we had to talk through custody rights and all those things. And there were times I was used to for 13 years, 14 years, seeing my son every night and seeing him every morning. That now changed. I needed that pain to end. And so I look at those painful situations in life. So I don't have judgment or fault. We definitely don't want anyone to commit suicide, but I understand from the context of, I just need this pain to end.
Yeah. I think for me, I call it my wilderness year, 2018. The year I was releasing my book. It was the year that I was starting my private practice. Full time, leaving a government agency. A whole bunch of different things were happening that were good, but the way I was feeling, I felt like I was losing. I felt like I was in pain. That was my year again. A wilderness. Anxiety was high, depression was high, and it's funny because the relationship I was in, it actually ended in December of 2017. I said, okay. I'm leaving my job in 2017. I'm leaving this relationship in 2017. I'm going in 2018, getting everything done, no blockages, all healthy relationships. Something happened at work where I had to stay another 2 months, delayed my process. Something happened with the relationship. It blew up. I had this plan of proposing to someone on my birthday. I was turning 40, releasing my book, had my practice going. And I was afraid because I didn't have that cushion of that job. I had a sibling who did something dirty to me. I had somebody else do something close to me, did something dirty, and I was isolated. And I said, I don't want to do this anymore.
Wow. Yeah.
And I wasn't talking about life, but I was talking about, I don't want to do Dear Future Wife no more. I don't want to do helping nobody no more. I don't want to do this. I just want me and my son. I was in the middle of a custody battle. It was a whole bunch of stuff happening at the same time. And we talking about trying to outwork my trauma. I was seeing 50 to 60 clients a week, so I don't have to face my own self.
Yes. Trying to mask the pain and bury yourself. And that's what I'm finding a lot of, and I say it this way, who we call successful people or those who are career bound. We will bury ourselves in our careers and so that we don't have to face the pain, the trauma and everything that we're dealing with, hoping that that's going to replace it. And it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't. No. We got to wake up one day. You
got to, because as soon as you close that office and get in that car to drive home to an empty apartment.
Yes.
That's when everything hits you. I'm up all night trying to sleep and anxious, and
Yes.
sweating, and I got the air conditioner on, and I just can't, it's so many racing thoughts, so many different things.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
funny because I went out with my family after kind of like staying away from them for a couple months. I went out, and it was like, "You look good. You lost a lot of weight. You've been working out." No, I wasn't eating.
Right.
I hadn't
Stress
let
the
them
hell
know
out.
that.
Right.
I was working, going home,
Right.
and sleeping. That's it.
Yes.
That's
That's
it.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. But you've been a blessing, man. I appreciate you. As we wrap, I have these 5 steps. I would love for you to kind of walk them through with me, if you don't mind, and tell me your thoughts on this. And this is what I call kind of 5 steps to support for those who might be considering suicide ideation, or if you're just going through any type of depression or mental health illness. Listen, one step I say, listen, don't leave the person alone. Why is that so important
Yeah.
not to leave that person alone who kind of have identified themselves as maybe being, you're not sure, maybe being suicidal or thoughts of it? I say don't leave
Because
them alone.
being by yourself, I mean, you're stuck with all the thoughts, and you feel like you don't have any help.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the second part I says, and let them know that they're not alone. Not only not leaving them alone, but remind, look, dog, bro, you're not alone. You're not alone. Whether it's sharing some of your own things or just like, hey, you're not alone. Even if we don't say anything, you are not alone with that. Thank you for joining us. Yes. Step number 3, I said this. I love this. Don't judge, don't criticize, and don't blame. Why is the judgment-free zone so critical when you're talking to someone who, especially since we're talking about suicide ideation, is so important that we don't judge or blame or criticize at that moment?
Well, the first thing is they're judging themselves. They're thinking they're not good enough. They're thinking they're not strong enough, smart enough,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. They're not worthy of
Yeah.
it. And so if I hear that, not only from my inner voice, but I hear from the external voice, then what do I have left? So
Right.
if you're talking about looking for a safe space, can you be that safe space?
That's good. Can you be that safe space? Number four. Listen, little talk, and really be there again to support. And I put listen first. Why is it listening so important? And when there's someone who's dealing with that.
A lot of times our voices, we're either not allowing our voices to be heard, or we're not
Mm-hmm.
heard from other people. And
Mm,
so I can't help somebody who doesn't tell me what they need. And sometimes we
right.
try to give them something we think they need or they
That's
should feel
good.
better about, and it
Right.
doesn't land right. So they feel
Yeah.
dismissed, they feel unheard, they feel undervalued. So your voice is
Yeah.
valued.
Exactly. I love that your voice is valued. And then finally, of course, what we say, seek professional help. Call this man here, Dr. Paul Beshea Williams. Call. He got a lot of stuff. But seek help. Seek help, definitely. Man, before we leave, again, tell us how we can stay in contact with you. Again, remind us how we can get this amazing book, Dear Future Wife. Now, I know you got to be working on a subsequent one. Hello, wife. Welcome
Yeah.
home, wife. Something. I got you, wifey.
Yeah, so they can find it at BesheaWilliams.com or go to Amazon. Also, I am working on another book. You can find me everywhere at Beshea Williams. Instagram is Beshea Williams, Twitter is Beshea Williams, Facebook Beshea Williams. My website is BesheaWilliams.com. But I am working on another book. My wife and I are working on a book. It's called Dear Marriage When Love Aligns. And
Love
then
it.
I have my own book called Found, and it's my journey of freedom. So it's talking about from childhood, different things. So it's going to be, I call that's my boy right there. My book is going to be my boy.
That's amazing, man. Listen, man, I'm so glad and thank you. Listen, you're a busy man, so I know that I appreciate you on the East Coast. So it is almost 10 o'clock out there, and I don't want your
Yeah.
wife to talk about. Listen, it's time for you to take you behind the bed. Man, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for
My
joining us,
pleasure.
man, and much love. When I get out there on the East Coast, I gotta look you up. Or if you guys come out here to LA, please. Look,
Yeah,
dinner
we
on
got to
me.
come out
Dinner
to it.
on
We got to
me.
come out to a Lakers game, man. So I'll be out there soon.
Hopefully we'll have a better season.
I
But
know.
that's
I
all.
think AD is back. AD is back. Hopefully, we'll see what happens.
Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
because Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Some folks out here been bailing, talk about, I'm just temporarily going to be a Golden State Warrior just for the remainder of this season, and I'll be back next season. But man, listen,
Yeah.
much love, man. I appreciate you. Much love
No
to
problem.
and give my love to the family as well.
Will do.
Definitely. Y'all,
Thank you.
thank you so much for joining us for this amazing edition of Mental Health Matters with Marty. Again, thank you to the great, the man, the myth, the legend, Paul Beshea Williams, who's doing amazing things in that DMV area. But before we go, because we're rushing to a close, we want to remind you, we are doing this amazing conference out here in the IE called The Black Man Made Well. And this is going to be a virtual and live symposium, Monday through Thursday, virtual. Join us on the, and please go subscribe to the Black Man Made Well YouTube channel. Daryl, real quick, for 30 seconds, kick that quick commercial. Black Man Made Well. This is a free virtual conference. Listen, we want you to sign up. Go to marcelconsulting.com to register. It's absolutely 100% free. We're being sponsored by Riverside County Mental Health Services via Medi-Cal out here. Listen, we got a wonderful lineup. On Monday, we're going to be talking about the Black Man Made Well, the stigmas. We have a powerhouse lineup for you. Dr. Tristan Webster, psychologist, Dr. Brown, who's in education, Dr. Jackie Smith, who is an instructor, clinical licensed psychologist, and Dr. Danielle Hill. Listen, I just get the privilege of moderating these talented brothers. We want to talk about the stigmas and the challenges that we have. We're going to be talking about from yelling to yoga on Tuesday. We're talking about self-care. Got some other mental health therapists coming in on Thursday, and talk about fatherhood on Friday, Thursday, and finances on Friday. LaDon, thank you so much. Listen, we're going to go straight to the end with this, Daryl, but show the Black Man Made Well t-shirt that we have available for you right now. The Black Man Made Well t-shirt on my website, mentalhealthmarty.com. But we are so glad that you have joined us. We don't want to leave you without this final saying. If you're experiencing any type of suicide ideation, we want you to know there is help out there. And some of the resources that you can go to is this. If you're in a crisis, you can text crisis to 741-741. And there's some other resources, Psychology Today, Good Therapy, Therapy for Black Men, and also Marcel Consulting. Listen, check out Beshea Williams. Listen, we don't want you to secretly suffer in silence in the shadow of shame, but there are therapists who look like you, who knows what you're going through, who wants to help you. Again, as we say this all the time, don't suffer in silence, but speak up, speak out, and live. And always remember to enjoy your life. We'll see you next week. God bless.